Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you are here. Wow, the weather out here is a bit tricky, as you may already know, and considering whatever today is, the 12th of September, we've got Hurricane Francine, I believe it's her name, is trekking through the states right now. And we are probably getting some of that rain and wind effect from that storm. So for any of those who are in the vicinity that will be affected by this hurricane, I hope and pray that you will be okay, you and your family members, friends, what have you. Just be safe and all of that, because it is quite critical. But yeah, at this point, I am dealing with some wind issues. So if the audio hopefully will stay intact the whole time, but if the video kind of glitches a little bit, that's what's probably happening. So I apologize for that up front, but you know, this is life, things happen. So, but we are just going to go ahead and keep on moving and going along anyways. So right now, as you can see from the title, we are talking about all things Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Now, as you may know, I am very much a fan of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I'm pretty much a fan of most of the Bravo Real Housewives shows. So this is one I'm really excited for, because if you had been watching, you know, since its inception, but even from the last season, you will see that it left off on such a cliffhanger of a way, as most of the seasons typically do. And it was with the whole revelation, if you will, in regards to the troll account that had been happened upon one of the castmates who was no longer going to be on the show for this season anyways, and all those things that were associated with that as a form of a way of bullying and attacking the cast members who were already on the show. So that was quite a huge shocker from last year's season finale, which was season 4. So now we are going into season 5, which, if you may have seen, the trailer has already dropped, I believe, because I believe I saw that last week and got a chance to see exactly when we were going to see when it was going to definitely premiere, which that's coming up. So I'm pretty excited. If you are watching, this is a video for you. Basically, I wanted to kind of just go through a couple of updates that I had actually did a previous video, like in regards to Lisa Barlow, as she is actually on off camera going through a lawsuit apparently that was levied against her for $400K from a previous business partner. And so I've got a bit of an update towards that particular story. And then plus we're going to go ahead and go into naturally the updates of what we know now, what's perceived to think what we know now in anticipation of the premiere. And we also got a little bit of a clapback from Miss Mary Cosby, my favorite actually, from the franchise, in regards to some negative rumors about her situation with her marriage. Now, we all know very famously that she apparently did marry, I believe, would have been her step-grandfather, her grandmother's husband, and they have been married for like 20 plus years now at this point. She does have a son. We do believe, I believe the last season we touched on about her son potentially. I don't know if he's married or not. That was a conversation. I think he might have said that he was. I don't know if we'll get more of that into this new season, but we all know that Mary, apparently, you know, she had started off with the franchise in the beginning and was there for at least a couple of seasons, and then decided to drop off when some things were really getting a little bit too close to home. And I think a lot of it was more connected towards her church and all of that. So we won't get into too much of that, because we're going to kind of stay on key on what's going on now currently. But she is pretty much back in full effect. She did come back as a friend to the show for at least a couple of seasons. And so now we will see how that's going to unfold for her as a major player in the game, right? So at this point, I've got a few articles. They're going to kind of span over a period of time and then kind of put us all the way up to where we are now. So it gives you a bit of an update for those who may need one as a refresher. And for those who truly didn't really know what was going on, this will be, you know, an idea for you to be given so you can be up to date and ready to go for when the season starts next week, if you do plan on watching, because I know I do. So we're going to go ahead and get into it, because because there's lots to cover for this video. So I hope that you will enjoy. Again, welcome and welcome back. Welcome if you are new, and welcome back if you're already part of the family. And yeah, let's go ahead and just get started. So we're going to go ahead, as you can see of the picture here, we're going to start with Miss Mary because, like I said, she's my favorite. So now, not too much going on with her, but we're just going to at least get a chance to find out what exactly is happening with these so-called rumors, and really, how she will handle it, I guess, and if we will see this play out and unfold on the show. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, according to Monsters and Critics, Mary Cosby had shut down rumors that she was divorcing Robert Cosby ahead of the Rhoslc season 5. Now, she basically has that statement where she's saying, hey, looky here, please don't believe the lies. Now, apparently this sharing was actually given at the end of July. So it seems to be that there might be some speculation that we're going to be opening up somewhere along this new season with information about this. So it's good to at least get an idea of where we are with that in case she chooses to open up about it. So let's go ahead and continue on with the sharing. Now, Mary Cosby would like our attention, okay? She says here, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star is responding to speculation about her marriage to Robert Cosby ahead of the 5th season of the Bravo favorite. It all started when rumors circulated across social media alleging cameras had picked back up on Rhoslc season 5 despite filming having wrapped last month, which, according to this sharing, would have been actually in June. Now, a rumor had spread like wildfire across social media that Mary was preparing to divorce her husband, Robert Cosby Sr. Now, I hadn't heard those rumors across social media. If you have, please feel free to drop that down in the comment section, because I knew nothing about that until I saw this actual article. Now, it's not uncommon for Bravo reality series to pick back up filming if any major life events happen before the next season airing, which we all got to see that with Vanderpump Rules. If you watch Vanderpump Rules, we all know about Scandival, and that was basically, just the cheating scandal heard around the world. Outlets like CNN and others had actually carried that, and we got to see all of the painstaking moments about that. But that was something that happened with Vanderpump Rules, so they're no stranger to that. And if I'm not mistaken, they've done that on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills as well. Have kind of, things were kind of camping to the end, and then something blows up and they decide, hey, let's go ahead and add this into the current season. So they're definitely not any stranger to that. Now, currently, with the saying from Mary as far as what it is that she's got to say about these rumors, because she's always so short and sweet and to the point. She basically says, hey, please don't believe the lies. Love ya. Just in that Mary fashion way, right? Because Mary is not stunting nobody. And quite frankly, even if there was issues, I don't think we're going to know about them until she kind of curates them to be shared with us in the way that she sees fit. Now, Bravo has yet to confirm if Mary is reclaiming her snowflake to appear as a full-time cast member again, but it sure seems it will be the case. And as we see, as the future sharings that are now future to this one, and I'll be covering this video, we will see that pretty much, yeah, it's happening. And as you can see on the picture, yeah, it's happening. Now, she was spotted filming events earlier this year, so bringing her back after a scene-stealing friend of a role last season seems like a foregone conclusion, right? Because she kind of got into it with a couple of women last season. I think Whitney was one, and she got really cool with Monica. But I think Whitney and I want to say there was a little bit of a tiff with Heather as well. So yeah, she definitely needed to handle some things. So she did just that, like she does, and how we expect her to do nothing else, right? Now, initially, Mary was super private in the reality series, but season 4 has showed a different side to her. She still had a sharp tongue that read her co-stars for filth, but there was a rare look into her home life. A case in point, the situation with her son, maybe. It makes sense that she would speak out about the rumors surrounding her personal life. Now, Mary is set to star alongside Lisa Barlow, Heather Gay, Whitney Rose, Meredith Marks, and Angie Katsanevis. Now, 3 new ladies are in the mix: Brittany Bateman, Mealy Workman, and Browen Newport. And we'll get a little bit more about those ladies in a future, in another sharing within this video though. I can want to say future sharing, but it's going to be in this video. So just in just a moment. So it's unclear if the new ladies will be friends of the housewives or will snag a full-time contract. But we shouldn't be waiting too long for those answers. Now, what they're sharing here is that when will Rhoslc season premiere? Season 5 will premiere? Well, we do know now it's going to actually be September 18th, so next Wednesday. According to this sharing, they didn't know at that point, but did expect that a new trailer would be popping up on the horizon. And again, like I shared earlier, I saw the trailer last week, so if you're kind of staying in tune with the Bravo shows, you probably saw it yourself. Now, one of the last year's most talked about reality TV stars was Monica Garcia, which actually she was my number 2 favorite. I'm just saying. She really did bring the pain really for this season, this past season, which was probably needed. I guess, I don't know, for the adversity of it all, but she did her thing. And she obviously, with everything going on last year or last season, the tensions were so high about that troll account, and therefore she was not asked back. Now, if you had saw the season finale, it was a 3-parter, and it gave her an opportunity to actually speak on the situation. And from what I can recall, it was a lot of basically saying, look, it wasn't just me, there was other people involved, other people were aware of this, and really I'm not that person, but yes, I did start these things. Now, apparently there was some salacious stuff that was put in these troll accounts, which is never cool. So it's definitely a situation where she needed to sit back. Now, she did provide some of that extra spice, but not for that reason do I consider the extra spice. Like, she really was open about her situation and her family, the dynamics with her mother. It was very painful, but I feel is so relatable to a lot, unfortunately, to a lot of ladies, here in society anyways. Unfortunately, not everyone has the best mother-daughter relationship, and she actually put that on front, and it was painful, but yet I think educational and relatable for so many people. And I thought that she really brought a good drama to that. She didn't hold back. She didn't sit back on the sidelines. She kind of got in there, and she really gave it to anyone that really was there to give it to her. And at the same time, she was able to twist that on and be, really a kind of a cool person to kind of hang out with and deal with, even with all of the things. Not to mention how she even got to the point she was in the first place, where, she had that messy divorce with her husband, where she had shared that there was an affair with her brother-in-law. And so, that's nasty, right? Nasty work. Definitely don't condone that. But that's where, it landed her where she ended up being. So, and then of course, the situation with her mother, which was just a straight toxic relationship. I don't know if there's any repair work able to be done with that particular relationship. It did seem like it was very authentically the way that things are. Her history about how she was left and all of that. Her mother kind of went on to do whatever she was going to do. And it just seems really, really upsetting. But all of that being said, she, has 4 daughters, I believe, 3 or 4 daughters. And she really did seem to have a very tight, loving relationship with her daughter. So that was nice to see that generational trauma stopped in local, in when I say local, and commonplace time, right? In this moment, it seemed like she did the opposite of whatever was happening with her mother. So I was happy to see that, because one of the most horrific things is carrying toxicity from generation to generation to generation. And I'm so glad that she was able to, it appeared at least at that time, to stop that in its tracks with her daughter and have a very loving relationship with all of them. So, and it just seemed very genuine. So I was sad to see Monica go. For the most part, I definitely do not condone what she did and what she was a part of. So I wish that part wasn't part of the situation. I did like the kind of friendship that seemed to be a brewing between her and Mary. So that's why I kind of feel like it's not impossible that she may come back. Now, she's going to have to come back with something to make, individuals who have a real issue with it, and you should have an issue with it, because bullying and all that kind of stuff is no good. she's going to have to come up with some kind of redeeming quality in order for people to be able to forgive and move past and not completely cancel the situation altogether. So I guess we will have to see how that unfolds for her. But I do hope that maybe she can find some way to redeem herself in that situation, and maybe can find her way back to Salt Lake, because I really do think that she was actually a good addition to the season, to the show itself. And it seemed like it was so promising until the unveiling at the end of the season. So here we go. Now, apparently, it seems that her affiliation with the troll count, which we just kind of covered already, that bullied the cast, which again, no bueno, no good, for years was too much of a risk to bring her back. And there's always the opportunity to return down the line, but for now, the series is heading in a different direction, and it will be interesting to see whether or not it's successful. And I do hope that it is, because I think there was a lot put on the situation as far as whether or not she would be able to really, help the season along, because it did seem like there was going to be some trouble in that, because with Jen's incarceration, Mary left the show. Could the remaining ladies really bring it to make the show interesting? We didn't know. So we'll just have to see how that all plays out. But with Mary coming back, I think there's going to be some spice there, and I'm here for it. I hope that you are too. But if you are excited about Mary being back, which it appears to be a full-time member, if that changes, we'll find out. But if you're happy about that, go ahead and drop that down in the comment section. I would love to know who your favorite cast member on that particular franchise is, if you have one. And if you are watching, let me know down below. And if you're not watching, let me know down below. And I'd be curious to know why you're not. It could be just, any reason, right? But just, let me know down below. Let's conversate about it down below. So let's go ahead and move on to our next sharing, because now we're going to get into a little bit of what's going on with the setup for the actual season 5 premiere, again, coming out next week. So that's going to be referenced in this sharing. So just know that I will probably skip over some things, but I'll try to, at least horn in on what is the most important, because there is so many details in here as well. But just know that, there might be some things that might be kind of shared just as a reinforcement for the next sharing. So getting into it, according to the Hollywood Reporter, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City sets cast and season 5 return date, which we now know is September 18th. So now the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is returning with almost all of its cast intact. Heather Gay, Lisa Barlow, and Angie Castanedas, Meredith Marks, and Whitney Rose will all be back when Bravo's Real Housewives franchise returns to Salt Lake City. Now, Mary Cosby, who had been a friend of the cast, also rejoins on a full-time housewife level. The 5th season premieres, again, Wednesday, September 18th at 9 p.m. Eastern, and Pacific time, I believe, is at 8 p.m. So, you find your local listings on that. And it'll be obviously on Bravo, with episodes that stream the next day on Peacock. So now, notably, and as expected, given how season 4 had ended, missing from the cast is Monica Garcia, who deceived the cast, or the rest of the cast and producers, and the producers, right? So they weren't even in on it, I guess. I mean, because I wonder if there was a conversation about that, right? But that season finale revealed that Garcia was one of the people behind an Instagram account that had been trolling the show's cast for years. And I often was kind of reflecting in the time when it revealed, like, how did nobody know about this, right? Like, as much detective work as people do, it just seems so interesting that they didn't, kind of get this, in the beginnings, which may also be why some people probably thought that maybe the producers knew a little bit more than they knew. But according to this sharing, I guess they didn't know. She fooled them too. So here we go, master manipulator, right? And now a revelation that became the focus of the subsequent 3-part reunion is that of the blow up about the troll account. Now, following the explosive ending to the season, Bravo and Garcia were taking a break, a cooling off period. Watch What Happens Live host and Housewives executive producer Andy Cohen had said at the time. Now, the parting of ways is official, and the cast drama is moving on. And of course, they did have a trailer to share within this particular sharing. So if you want to go and take a look out there, you most certainly can. I'll have the definitely this source down in the description box below, so that way you can see where to reference to go back and see that trailer if you have not already and wish to do. Now, 3 new women, meanwhile, are joining the cast, including the new housewife Bronwyn Newport, a longtime friend of Barlow's, who makes a splash for the ladies with her outrageous, fabulous, and confrontational style for Bravo, which is going to be interesting because we all know that Lisa and Meredith were the the two, right? And we got to see their relationship kind of seemed like crash and burn. I mean, my goodness, it was really awful how that went down. So I kind of felt like she did need some kind of an person, right? Some kind of alliance with somebody. So here we go, brought someone for her. Now, 2 new friends of the cast are Utah native practicing Mormon and real estate developer, actress, singer Brittany Bateman, and Rose's, which would be Whitney Rose's friend, Mealy Workman, who is apparently a model and mom of 4 who was raised LDS and has since left the church. That's going to be interesting because we know that Whitney has been very vocal about her and how the process went for her, basically excavating herself from the LDS church. So to see her have an ally in that outside of Heather, because I sometimes feel there's a little bit of, I don't know, not disconnect, but, there seems to definitely be a difference sometimes on how things propelled. I feel sometimes that Heather wishes that there was some part of her that could still reconnect with that way of life, but she's really seems to be struggling sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes to keep moving forward. She's definitely profiting off of the exit with her book and all that good stuff, but she did lose pretty much all, I guess, a lot of her family, or at least her mother at that time, that wasn't speaking to them or not speaking to them on a regular basis, but just was not thrilled about the sharings of that particular book. So she is getting something for that, but Whitney to me seemed very much an affirmative of moving forward, and it didn't seem to have a lot of regret, and didn't seem to really show up front that she was in a situation where she felt perplexed, or that she just didn't know if she could make it without the church, right? So yeah, that being said, it will be nice to see a friend to her that may have a similar story to her, or at least could be more on that same front. And plus, too, Heather and Whitney, although they're supposed to be cousins, they've been really having a hard time with their friendship element for the last couple of seasons. So it's kind of nice to get someone to kind of break that up. So we'll see what Mealy does for the season, or does she end up switching sides and goes against Whitney altogether? We'll see how that goes. Now, the first episode does start with such a bang. Cohen had recently teased, and they did do something that I don't think, this is Cohen, has been done on a housewife show before, which is the whole first episode is the first whole all cast event. Now, as you know, a lot of times they do kind of tickle into or ease their way into the beginning of a season, and it might end up, they might have an event of some sort in the first episode, but it's never in the very beginning. So the fact that we're starting off with one, this is going to be interesting, right? So now the season 4 finale had threw Rhoslc into the zeitgeist of driving the reality series to an 18% jump in multi-platform viewership from the previous season. According to the network, the show's first reunion episode brought in the highest audience in over 2 years for the series. And that's pretty, shocking in a way, because, people all but thought that Salt Lake was done after Jen, got hit in the clink, but it seemed like they were able to pick it up. But even so, there were some powerful seasons there for season finales with Jen. It was a bit toxic most of the time, but it still, got the ratings up, right? But so for the fact that it was so powerful and they're leading into this new season, they do have Monica to thank for that, but at least it's keeping things and the lights on for the show. So, we'll see how these new ladies kind of mix it up and make it their own right at this point, right? We'll just have to see how that all plays a part, because it is going to be interesting if they're going to be able to move past the situation with Monica in a way that still interests us with new storylines. So here we go. Now we're going to move into a sharing from US Magazine, where Andy Cohen actually had spoke a little bit more in depth about his thoughts of the premiere. So let's go ahead and get into that and get some more details. So now Andy Cohen was spilling the tea on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. season 5. The show's executive producer had called into Sirius XM's Jeff Lewis, his good buddy Jeff, live radio show on apparently Wednesday last month, August 14th, and teased that he had seen the first 7 episodes of the upcoming season. He said Bravo had basically at that time had yet to confirm when the new episodes would premiere. We all at this point know that it's going to be next Wednesday. Now, at the time, Cohen had shared that he was very excited about the new season of Salt Lake. He said OSLC star Meredith was a guest on the show at that time, and she had added that she was too. Cohen further says, who said he can't specifically name who will be among the cast, which we pretty much now know, teased that the first episode really sets the stage for the drama to come on the new season. So apparently with these 3 new ladies, if this is going to be an all cast situation, I'm going to assume that those 3 ladies, as being part of the cast, whether they're friend or not friend, they'll all be there as well. Maybe that will be our one-way introduction to all 3 at the same time. Because, sometimes they kind of sprinkle them in. You may not get them all at one time. So it kind of feels like that's what's going to happen here. So some kind of shindig party or whatever, because, they love to party it up over there in Salt Lake. Now, it's very good, he said. The first episode starts with such a bang, and they do something that, again, I don't think has been done on a housewife show before, which is the whole first episode is the first whole cast event, as we just shared just a minute ago. So much happens. It's really great. And to me, it sounds like it's going to be the starting point for the rest of the season, right? Because you always need something to kick off. So here we go. He says it's excellent. The women are great. It feels very fresh. He added, last season was obviously so huge, but this season feels very from the jump. They're off to the races. It's really good. Now, Cohen played coy about when viewers can expect season 5 to premiere. But again, we know it's September 18th, but said fans can expect plenty of drama, even with the departure of Monica Garcia, who joined in season 4 and was at the center of last season's explosive reality Von T's storyline. Now, Monica, again, was outed as one of the people behind an anonymous Instagram account that targeted former Rhoslc star Jen Shaw and the other cast members. Because yes, it did start off with Jen Shaw, but then it started getting out to other ladies. And I believe Heather had a lot to say about it. Was just basically rumors and wondering where these rumors about each one of these ladies, where it was coming from. And then to come find out that it was from these Instagram accounts. Now, this season is outstanding, Cohen says. Monica was so dominant in last season. Say what you will, but it was an incredibly memorable season, and that it was. And I will say this season is an incredibly memorable season. All right now. Meredith, Lisa Barlow, Heather Gay, Whitney Rose, Angie Castanedas, and Mary Cosby are all expected to return for season 5. Now, as for Monica, the now ex-housewife said in January that it wasn't her decision to leave the show after one season. Cohen confirmed on Watch What Happens Live that basically, again, they were taking a break from her. Now, that would be a cast and a Bravo decision. It would not have been my decision. Monica had told the cut. So she was definitely ready to continue to move forward with these ladies in some capacity. But they said, considering the nature of everything, and, we had already been hearing about troll account situations with other franchises, we all found it to be very disgusting and did not want to see any more of it from those franchises. So this was just one more situation that, it's like, look, if we keep going in this negative, toxic way, we're all just going to stop watching altogether. And right now, let's face it, it's been a bit hard for the last few seasons for probably all of them collective. Maybe the only one that hasn't struggled as much, I think, is Beverly Hills. It still gets criticized, but I don't think it's not getting Atlanta's treatment or Potomac's treatment, right? So, they don't want to fall into that kind of category, which, by the way, I still love Potomac and Atlanta, and I'm hoping and praying that it's going to continue in a different direction that's going to put them back up at the top. I do remember Andy saying something about, now don't be worried about Atlanta, because it's going to be all right. So we're going to see what happens and what exactly does all right mean, right? So anyways, basically in February, Lisa had exclusively told Us Weekly that the new season is very, very real. So, they've been, getting it in with these seasons and with the shows and the filming. So she says, I think that we raise the bar every single season. We have an amazing team. It's not just the core 4 of us. It's a whole big team. And with new additions, Lisa said, and I feel like our production team is so committed to showing us in our best light and having our best self shown. And our most vulnerable self shown, which I'm really surprised that Lisa would say that, considering, that whole off mic thing that happened in the bathroom. But I think because we really do have conflict still, and there's still things being resolved, our franchise is one where we don't have to fake anything, Lisa added. So I think that's really good, because quite frankly, I think a lot of us are really tired of the fake my still back. I don't know what you saw there. For me, it's like a blackout. For you, it may not have been. But yeah, we all saw what was going on there. It was just it's been quite a bit when it comes to these housewife shows. So we're hoping for a good season, and we'll just have to see how that all plays out. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to our next sharing, which is about the update to the lawsuit for Lisa Barlow, and an additional lawsuit that also is kind of added into this formula. So we're just going to go into it and see what's going on there. Now, I had did a previous video, so you can go ahead and feel free to check it out on Lisa Barlow. It's also accompanied with Nene Leakes and her back moment, as well as, who else was on that thumbnail? Jeff Lewis as well. So, feel free to, just roll down there a little bit and check that out if you want some more details and more information. They'll probably share some things in this particular sharing about that, but there's always something extra that may not always be shared in the next one, right? So feel free to definitely go take a look at that video if you have not had a chance to. But it was a start of, here we go with the lawsuits on their housewives, right? And Lisa Barlow, now we know she has those 6, maybe more now, lawyers that she makes sure to let us know about in the season 3 episode there. So now I was starting to feel like maybe this is the reason why, because my goodness, that was a lot going on there. And, we all know that she is very much the prim and proper of the show, right? She loves her money and loves her Vita, and that being her, I think it's a tequila drink. Lisa's is quite a character, and sometimes I think you probably love her or dislike her. Just depends on what the season is giving you at that time. We do know that she was definitely much in tight link with Meredith, as really it seemed like her best friend, and that seemed to all about just about falling apart. They barely could speak to each other, it seems like at times. It's definitely not the same. Let's just put it that way. It makes me wonder if they really were all that cool in the first place, but we'll see what goes. But this right now is taking us a little bit off canvas, right? It's taking us into the real life world situation of Lisa. And I do, though, wonder if any of this is going to be brought to the season 5 at all, if she's going to speak on it, because we know that things were touched upon last season. And I can't remember who it was. Did Meredith have something to say? I think she did, where there were some rumors basically about something that were associated with Lisa's, business dealings. And so there was a lot of innuendo coming about with that, which, at first it seemed like Lisa's situation was really up, tightened up like a bow, and there was no issues there. But we started to see a little bit of cracks in the feeling that maybe something's up, right? So, let's go ahead and get into this update according to that situation. So this is according to the Salt Lake Tribune. Now, it says Real Housewives' unpaid debts are a fanciful tale, her attorneys claim. Now, this sharing was actually provided in August last month. So it's going to give a bit of that update. So let's go ahead and get into that. So Lisa Barlow is asking the judge to dismiss a lawsuit filed by a Park City builder and former friend. Lisa Barlow, the self-proclaimed queen of Sundance and a cast member of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, has claimed she does not owe a former business partner more than $400,000. And even if she did, it's too late for her to be sued for it. Okay, now. Attorneys for Barlow last month filed a motion to dismiss a lawsuit filed against her and her 2 businesses, Vita Tequila and Lux Marketing. The suit, filed in June by Bart Carlson and his building company at Yukon Construction, claims that Barlow owes Carlson $410,842.36 to be exact, for money he loaned from 2010 to 2018. Now, Carlson has concocted a fanciful tale in which he purports to have bankrolled Barlow and her companies with an open line of credit that had no terms or conditions and no repayment date, the motion to dismiss says. Carlson's attorney did not respond to the Tribune's request for comment. Barlow was fervently denied that she owes Carlson or Yukon Construction any money. She says, I pay my bills and obligations, and I always have, she said in a statement in June. Bart has no interest in Lux Marketing or Vita Tequila and did not invest in either business. Now, what is so interesting is like it's such a large amount. Like, why is there such a disconnect, right? Let's keep going. She says, I look forward to the truth coming out, and I intend to hold Bart fully accountable for any damage this personal attack may cause me or my business. In the motion to dismiss, Barlow's attorneys argued there's no proof of any contract between Barlow and Carlson, and therefore no proof she owes him anything. And even if there were, the motion claims it's too late to sue. Now, Carlson's complaint claims that Barlow first asked him for money in 2010 because she was experiencing severe financial difficulties and needed help recovering personal and business expenses. Now, Carlson agreed to help, the complaint alleges, and loaned personal and company money on flexible terms to Barlow, her two companies, and an attorney on her behalf. Now, remember, they've referenced already that they were supposedly former friends. And look at here. Sometimes, money is one of those things you do not want to have come between friends. It could destroy a friendship if not handled right. And this seems to be a situation in which there's some essence of that, right? Now, Carlson also opened an American Express credit card in Barlow's name. The complaint claims so that he could more precisely track the expenses Barlow and Vita Tequila had incurred. Carlson had paid off $119,585 on that card from 2011 to 2018, according to the complaint. He did not specify a time by which Barlow needed to pay him back, the complaint claims, because of his long-time friendship with Barlow and her family. So one of those, I just on your onus that you'll pay me back, right? Now, however, Barlow's attorneys argued Carlson failed to provide any proof of such an agreement. His evidence, a series of texts from 2019 to 2022, in which Carlson inquiries about the debts and Barlow seemingly acknowledges them, do not prove any sort of enforceable contract, the motion to dismiss claims. There does not appear to be any provision requiring Carlson to loan money, no procedure by which loans are requested, agreed to, processed, documented, or paid back. Indeed, there are no facts alleged where Barlow even specifically asked Carlson for money, the reasons for any loans, or the recipient of any loan, and no facts about Carlson agreeing to any loans, the motion says. This supposed agreement is far too vague to be enforced. Even if Carlson could provide proof of Barlow's debts, her attorneys argued Barlow would not have breached any contract because, by Carlson's own admission, there was no time designated for repayment of any loan. So there you go, right? If you don't give me an end date, that means I have for the rest of my life to do this, or not. Now, finally, even if Carlson's complaint could account for all of its deficiencies, Barlow's attorneys argue it's too late to bring this grievance to court. The statute of limitations on an oral contract with Barlow's attorneys claims is the only such agreement Carlson might be able to prove is 4 years under Utah law. Carlson agrees he offered Barlow a series of loans from 2010 to 2018 and first asked about payment in December 2019. According to court documents, if the clock started with Carlson's first request for payment, he would have until December 2023 to file a complaint, Barlow's attorneys argue. He waited until June 2024 to file, and therefore his suit is untimely, Barlow's attorneys say in their motion. Carlson's June complaint claims he finally demanded Barlow repay him in March after years of asking. The agreement did not specify a repayment date, the complainant says, but stipulated that Barlow would be obligated to repay the loaned funds upon Yukon's demand. The alleged loans and financial troubles all happened before The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City started airing in November of 2020. Barlow is one of the 4 cast members to face legal difficulties. Jen Shaw, as we all know, is serving time in federal prison after being given a 6.5-year sentence in January 2023 for leading a nationwide telemarketing fraud scheme. Heather Gay and her company, Beauty Lab Plus Laser, sued fellow cast member Monica Garcia. You might have remember that from last season as well. In 2023 for not paying for cosmetic injections. That was actually brought up, I believe, in the season finale. Basically those injections that were performed in 2019. In a countersuit that since has been dismissed, Garcia had claimed the work was botched and negligently performed. Gay's case is still apparently in court. Interesting, right? Now we're moving on to, apparently there was a third lawsuit against Real Housewives star Celeb brand, and it was apparently dismissed. So there was an update to this particular story that was actually covered in August, but it was August 15th, and then they quickly updated it on the 16th, so the very next day. And basically that update, which I'll read that first, and then we'll get into the details associated with that, was basically saying that this case was dismissed that Thursday of that week without prejudice, meaning it can be refiled. The motion to dismiss did not state a reason, and an attorney for the plaintiff, William McGreary, did not immediately respond for that time for this particular article, which was Friday, to the Tribune's request for comment. So here we go. Lisa Barlow's Celeb brand is now the focus of 3 lawsuits. So the focus is still out there, but at this point, there seems to be a situation of the case being dismissed. So where does that leave that individual? Maybe nowhere, right? But let's go in and at least get the details of what was coming about at that point. Now, entrepreneur and the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City cast member Lisa Barlow is being accused of not paying her debts again. Now, in a lawsuit filed Tuesday in Salt Lake County's 3rd District Court, Georgia, finance man, William McGreary claims Barlow and her husband John owe him and his trust $400,000, according to the complaint. Now, McGreary had loaned the money to help the Barlows cover expenses, which we went through all of that in the previous sharing, related to the tequila brand and Vida Tequila. We also got to hear about what Barlow said about that as well, right? Like he had no interest in it. But further detail about that says that Barlow's publicist did not immediately respond to Thursday to the Tribune's request for comment, which is this current sharing now. An attorney has not yet been named in the case, but Sean Egan, who was representing Barlow in a lawsuit filed in June, which is the one that I shared in my last video as well, said he was not aware of the new charges as of Tuesday afternoon and could not provide comment. It is the 3rd time this year someone has accused Barlow or her family of owing money on behalf of Vida Tequila. A former business partner had sued Barlow in June, which we cover that, for roughly $410,000. He claims she borrowed between 2010 and 2018 and has not paid. The Financial Services Corporation also sued Vida and John Barlow in May for $105,954.16 in alleged unpaid loans. Now, the Barlows have denied the charges in each case according to court documents, right? So all things alleged. I pay my bills and to my obligations, and I always have, Lisa Barlow said in a statement in June. Now, McGreary's complaint claims the Barlows have borrowed money from the McGreary family trust in order to source raw materials for Vida Tequila, but actually spent the money elsewhere and never paid it back. According to the complaint, John Barlow approached McGreary's son, David, who had known the couple for 20 years, and said Vida Tequila was struggling to buy certain raw materials because vendors were not convinced it had the money. So David McGreary is not a plaintiff in the suit, but is an authorized agent of the trust, according to the complaint. Now, the McGreary family trust signed off on the $400,000 loan with a 5% interest in December of 2022 to be paid back a year later, according to the complaint. The loan could be converted to equity in Vida Tequila if both parties agreed, which means they would have a buy-in on that, right? But the trust told Vida in November 2023 that it didn't want equity. It expected its money back plus interest in a month. So therefore, they're saying, okay, if that's not the agreement, we don't want to have a piece of it, right? We just want to get our money back, which then, kind of plays into her saying, look, they don't have any interest in either one of our businesses. That also includes Lux. Now, McGreary claims that Vida has not made any payments toward its loan and has therefore violated its contract with McGreary's family trust. Now, the complaint also alleges the Barlows did not spend the loan money on the materials that claimed Vida Tequila needed. That story was a farce, McGreary claims. The complaint does not specify how McGreary thinks the money was spent, but claims Vita already had significant quantities of raw materials that did not change over time, suggesting both that the company had no need for raw materials and that no new raw materials were acquired after the loan was funded. The McGarry Family Trust would not have offered the loan if not for the belief it would help Vita Tequila buy necessary materials, the complaint claims. It is a misrepresentation. McGarry's attorneys claim amounts to securities fraud. Oh Lord, so we get down to the nitty gritty, and that ends that sharing. So it seems like there's more to come when it comes to this situation. However, that particular case now appears to have been dismissed. So again, I'm wondering if this is going to be brought up in any fashion in this upcoming season. Are we going to get some more information? Are we going to get full confirmation that all things associated with these lawsuits are completely done? It doesn't necessarily sound like that's the case for all three situations, but it may be, right? Because this last one apparently is dismissed. So we're going to see if anything new comes of it. They did try to get the individual to speak on it that would put the lawsuits against us, being the McGarrys, but they hadn't heard anything back yet. So it seems like everything is kind of closed at this point. So, it will definitely be interesting to see if anything new pops up, especially with the new season kicking out, because you know how when stuff comes up, when people start getting on those shows, it kind of igniting people to like, hey, don't this person owe me money, or this person did this, or, they're just watching it and they're then become inspired to address any wrongdoings that they feel took place. So that being said, Lisa may be out the wind of the situation. So I guess we will see, or she may keep it tight. Just have to see, right? It would be interesting for her to at least come and speak about it because it has been out there. I wonder if one of the other ladies may just drop it out there if she doesn't offer to speak on it, which I don't foresee her doing that. It seems more like someone will have to needle her to speak about it. So we'll see. As far as I can tell, I don't see anything where Vita and Lux, for that matter, don't exist anymore. So it seems like those businesses, I guess, are still doing fine. So good for her, I guess. But it's never good to owe money or have the perception of owing money. And the fact that there's so much money, it just makes you wonder, well, how is there such a disconnect between the two people? That's an awful lot of money. We're not talking about, hey, I borrowed $20 10 days ago, and I swear I did pay it back, but I just forgot. $400,000 is an awful lot of money. So, did you borrow it? Was it a gift? Was that how it was perceived? I guess all these things will either come out or not come out. But at this point, it seems like that particular case with the $400K, I guess now it's dismissed. And the three lawsuits were just those that, had happened to pop up against. So I guess she's kind of getting rid of all of those altogether. But again, it's not in a position where it cannot be refiled. So I guess more may come. We'll just have to wait and see. All things alleged at this point, if there's any money owed to the Claytons, because things are dismissed. So at this point, Lisa gets to continue moving on without worrying about that headache, and we'll see what comes what may, right? So with that, wow, that was a lot to cover here with this Real Housewives Salt Lake. I wanted to make sure I get this information out, obviously, because the show is starting, and it gave us a little bit of something to take with us into the new season if you happen to be watching or decide that you want to watch. It is really a great show, quite frankly. The ladies are fun to watch. I mean, all of the things that they trip themselves about is quite interesting. And one thing I do appreciate about them, and I do feel like this is the case most of the time, they actually have real issues. Like the whole manufactured storyline thing is just not working, right? I kind of feel from that place that if you are on a reality show, I'm not saying you have to know everything about everything, right? Or they have to share all of the things of their life. But let's face it, when you happen to create storylines that don't make sense, or they go on and on and on about nonsense, it just gets very tiresome. So if you're going to do the show, then let's be real. Let's be real, right? Let's have real issues. At least make the issues make sense. At least make the issues be interesting, and then make some resolve to that, so that way you can move to the next season with new issues. So that being said, again, I'm so glad that you were here. I do hope that you enjoyed the information. And if you did and you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give this video a like because, quite frankly, it definitely does help. And I would so appreciate it. And of course, if you are new here, go ahead and hit subscribe, right? Go ahead and be part of the family. If you haven't already done so, I would so love to have you. I so appreciate you being here. I appreciate, all of you for your visual viewing and listening support. And so I thank you so, so much for that. And I think with that, I'm going to bid you adieu. Definitely make sure you have your all notification bells on because I've got, more videos coming. I do owe you some recap and reviews. Lord, I know I do. I will be working something out to get all of that out. So to kind of put us on track for those who may be following those shows. So that will be coming out soon too. I promise. And I thank you for your patience on that. But yeah, Real Housewives of Salt Lake is on deck. So I'm here for it. So with that being said, again, take care, be blessed. And again, if you are at all being affected by this new hurricane that's coming out, please be safe and definitely check on your people. All right. So with that, take care and bye.